matchmakers, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to match that listing with the best possible buyer that wants to bring the strongest offer.
Thanks for joining us on Outside the Box, where we talk through actionable strategies to help you build your repeat and referral business. Remember, referrals don't happen by accident. They happen on purpose. For those who don't know, my name's Chad Armbruster, and this is Justin Armbruster, full-time realtor and co-host.
Today, we have Amanda Furman with the Amanda Furman Collective with Coldwell Banker Real Estate Group, joining us all the way from Apple City, Wisconsin. Amanda has been serving buyers and sellers in the Fox Cities area since 2017 and sold over 100 homes in 2024. Amanda, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Great. So tell us, how did you get into the real estate business?
On accident. So I was a middle school and high school teacher. I taught for a few years full time. Then I stayed home for about 10 years, always sort of dabbled in things. I was a cake decorator. I bartended. I waitressed. Just things that I could fit in while primarily being a mom as my main job. And then after about 10 years, I was really ready for a new career. I knew I didn't want to go back to teaching. I love the kids. I didn't love the pay. I didn't love all of the politics that were involved in teaching in my area. And I had my cousin's husband is a realtor, and he had been telling me forever that I should be in real estate, and it was never the right time. And when I knew I was ready, I kind of made a list of things that I wanted to do. Nursing was number one, but I didn't want to do 4 more years of school. So I looked at real estate and I was like, well, the barrier for entry is really low in real estate, right? I can take a 72-hour class and pay a couple $100, and if I don't like it, I'll move on to the next thing. So I did that, and within about 6 months, my production was higher than my team leads. So it went really well.
Heck yeah.
And here I am.
I've always heard it takes hundreds, maybe 1,000 hours to get your license to cut hair. But it takes, a couple classes, and are you breathing? Come sell real estate. The barrier of entry for real estate is very low. But staying in business like what you have, that's the hard thing.
Yes, I would agree with that 100%.
Is there anything when your prior profession of teaching that, you've taken from that and you've been able to kind of apply or kind of helped you in the real estate business, or?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing would be, I was a teacher, and during and after teaching, I coached too. So I coached 4 youth sports in my area. And I very quickly found out in my real estate career that if people trust you with their children, they will trust you with just about anything. So my first 3 clients were all people who I coached their children in sports. So, and also with working with middle school and high school kids, you deal with a lot of emotions, different personality types, maybe kids that aren't really thinking clearly because of stresses in their life. And I've applied a lot of the strategies that I've learned dealing with adolescents to how I deal with my clients in real estate, which sounds kind of terrible now that I just explained it that way. But I think I started with just, middle school kids are tough. I think everybody knows that. They're dealing with a lot in their life. And I feel like if you can communicate with them effectively, you can communicate with anybody.
It is a real thing. Working with the general public is not easy. It is sometimes feels like working with middle schoolers.
I was going to say, yeah.
I would agree with that.
I would say the part of this clip we would do would be something like, real estate, learning to deal with children, something like that, I suppose.
Yeah,
but-
working in real estate is like working with children. Yeah, for sure. That's a great clip. We should definitely advertise that.
Right?
That's funny.
We won't insult any clients.
So I guess what's like the one habit or routine that's kind of helped you consistently, stay in front of your sphere of influence and help you generate repeat and referral business?
We, and I say we because I have a real estate team, we are very, very relationship based. It comes first. We're about 98% referral at this point.
Nice.
And that's because we take care of our people and we follow up with our people. We also are super active in our community, and we highlight that in social media. So we're involved, besides just going to the farmers markets, the school fundraisers, we do a weekly series where we highlight local small businesses in our area. That has been a referral source that I didn't even contemplate. I did it to just show my involvement in the community and supporting my community. And then the business owners that I was interviewing slowly started to become my clients.
Nice.
I was supporting their business and they wanted to support mine, which was really cool.
Yeah.
And in just an organic way to earn business. I'm very involved in our downtown area. I serve on the board of directors for a couple different programs. And just, always I kind of like to think of myself as the mayor of my area. I don't know if you can see, I have Fox Cities Homegirl is sort of my tagline. And that's because, I'm out there and I'm involved and I'm like the cheerleader for our area because I love it here. And I want everybody to love it as much as me.
I love that. So your business interviews that you do, I'm assuming you're posting things on social media, all that good stuff. Is it like a planned, hey, I do 2 of these a month and this is what they always look like? Is it just kind of an impromptu when, you go somewhere? What does that look like?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it sort of evolved over time, but the reason I started doing them is because when I got into real estate, I had no money to spend on marketing. And I also am not a salesperson at all. I'm very good at relationships. I'm horrible at sales. And I thought, how can I market myself, but also be an asset to my community? I come from a family of small business owners, so I know what an important part of their community they are. I know how hard they work. So that just kind of was an idea that came to my head. And it started very grassroots, and it still is. I use my iPhone. Sometimes I'll meet at the business. If they don't have a brick and mortar, we'll meet at my office. And it's just an organic conversation where I introduce the business owner and they talk about their business.
I think that's super important. So many realtors, and myself included, when you want to get into video or whatnot, it's always you need all this equipment and you need to spend thousands of dollars to make it look, all this stuff. And that's not true. You use your iPhone. You've been doing it for years. It's successful. You've picked up referrals. You don't have to have a massive budget to get into something like that.
Correct. Yep.
So are you trying to do a couple a month or?
Oh yeah, we do them every Friday. So we call the series Fox Cities Friday. So the Fox Cities is the area that I'm from. It's a bunch of smaller, mid-sized cities that we're in a river valley area. And every Friday, we at 6 a.m. we post this interview. I think we're on episode maybe 250, 260.
Wow.
So yeah, we had to take a little bit of a break during COVID. It was hard to meet with small business owners then. A lot of things were hard then, but yeah, we picked it up and, changed it a little bit over time, but not too much.
Episode 250.
Wow.
That's impressive. Just staying with anything for that long is super impressive. That is super cool.
There's been, there's a saying that something like, I'm going to ruin this, but people copying you is the best form of flattery, right?
Is it imitation's the best form of flattery?
There you go. Thank you.
Yeah.
And there's been quite a few other realtors in my area that have done the same thing, and they all did it really well and effectively, but none of them stayed with it.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
So that's just that consistency, I think, is what sets us apart.
Yeah. Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah, just sticking with it. So what are some common mistakes that you see new realtors making when they're trying to grow their real estate business?
I think wanting it more, being desperate. Nobody wants to be sold. And I think a lot of new agents come in and they think I sell houses, and they come off as very salesy. So I think it's super important to just be who you are and focus on taking care of people and forming relationships. And the business will just naturally come from that. Like I told you, I'm not good at sales. I'm terrible at it. But I'm really good with people, and I'm really good at nurturing relationships. And I'm very empathetic and understanding, and I'm good at communicating. And those are all skills that got me to where I am. There's no magic wand that, somebody new into real estate can wave and suddenly get all of these new clients immediately. You have to earn it. You have to work hard, and it's not easy, but if you're consistent and you just form those relationships and people's trust, the business will come to you.
That's funny. I can see it now. Top producing Fox Cities realtor admits she's not great at sales, but will continue to sell, lots and lots of homes every year. And I feel the exact same way. People love buying things, but they hate being sold to. And so, our job as realtors it's very little. It's not really sales. I don't view myself as a salesman, especially because I just want to, our job is just to help people do what they already want to do. And I don't have to sell you this house. You already know if you like it or not. I'm just here to help you do what you want to do already. I think that's super cool. And it's a great philosophy that not a lot of realtors take and should.
We're like matchmakers, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to sell somebody on one of my listings. I'm going to match that listing with the best possible buyer that wants to bring the strongest offer. That's how I look at it. And of course, we have to know about marketing. We have to know how to negotiate contracts. But even that too is all relationship based.
Absolutely.
I've not heard it that way. Matchmaking. I like that.
It is a real thing. And you know this, but I have a whiteboard in my office with active buyers, what they're looking for. And I spend 30 minutes to an hour a day just searching the MLS. Who would be a good fit for this one? I need to send it to them. Who would be a good fit for this one? Or even with off-market properties that I hear of coming up, who would that be a good fit for? I mean, that's a huge part of our job is matchmaking with houses, with people that would be good fits.
Yep. We're kind of hunters too, aren't we?
Yep.
Hunting for what's gonna, be best for our specific clients that we're working with.
Yeah.
So when you say developing relationships, is that more of you're talking about the interpersonal relationship that you are establishing, or are you talking about you're good at after the fact and your follow up and stuff? I guess when you talk about that, what are you focused on?
Both of those. To me, they're equally as important. So one thing that the only requirement to be on my team is to come to our team meetings and to write 5 handwritten note cards every week. And they can't be anything business related. So, I often, if I'm struggling, I usually write between 10 and 15 a week. But if I'm struggling to find 5, I go to social media and I look for pain, pleasure, and celebration. And I just write people. But for whatever reason, right now I've had a lot of people in my sphere losing pets, losing dogs. And when you take the time, especially as a pet owner that has lost a furry child, I know how hard that is. And when you take the time to write a handwritten card and send it to somebody in that situation, I would say 9.9 out of 10 times, whoever I send a card to, no matter what, reaches back out to me and lets me know how much, that means to them. So it's just like being a good person too, right? It comes in really handy. We're not looking for business. We're just looking to be there for people that are in our sphere, in our community. That has brought, I can't tell you how much business that has brought me. It's hard to track that, but it's exponential. We do the same thing at open houses. So at our open houses, you have the sign-in sheet. Sometimes it takes 3 years, but when those buyers come back to us, they say, we got all of your handwritten cards and no other realtor has ever done that. And we just, keep in contact. We don't need to hear from them. Just, hey, we're here to help you when you're ready. Hey, we saw this property. It was really similar to the one that you looked at. Like, let us know if you're interested. Nobody uses snail mail anymore. It's all text and email, and we do that too. But those handwritten cards have been a big part of our business.
Handwritten notes, they are the most underrated piece of marketing that you can do. And sometimes I don't even like to call it marketing, because it's like what you said, it's just being a good person. Just taking the time to care and taking the time to write them and think of someone, even, non-real estate related, especially non-real estate related. I've even heard, we have realtors in our office who, and I don't know how you do it, they have non-branded note cards. No logos, no nothing. It's just, hey, I do not care about real estate. I care about you, and I'm writing you this note. And of course, everyone knows what you do, but you don't have to necessarily have a logo on your note card to write it.
Yep. That's exactly what we do. I have, cards for losing a pet, like celebratory cards, welcoming a new baby cards. We do have branded cards. Those are the ones that we usually send out to our open house follow-ups, or even like referrals. We send out a thank you, a thank you note card with a little goodie in it, thanking for referrals. But yeah, everybody loves getting mail. It's fun.
Yeah,
so,
and the open rate on snail mail is like 100%.
Yes, that's a really good point.
People are going to read it. An email, maybe they do, maybe they don't. It doesn't mean as much. You write a handwritten note, that is getting opened. If you want to get a message across, that is the way to do it.
I've never thought of that. Really good point.
Yeah, Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it reminds me, one time I got a handwritten card from a BizBox client just thanking me. And I was like, oh my gosh, why? I can't believe they're sending me a card. And I immediately, texted him and said, hey, thank you for that. I appreciate it. So I completely understand or can, relate.
Sometimes if I'm going to text, say I have coffee with someone, it was great catching up with them. Oftentimes people will, send a follow-up text, hey, it was great catching up with you, yada, yada, yada. I try and, as much as I want to text them that right away, hold back. I'll write them a card and send that. And so I have just basic ones that on the front that I had printed, it just says, this is not a text, ... And
that's so smart.
When they open it up, it's exactly what I would have texted, but you just take the time to write it. Hey, it was great grabbing coffee with you the other day, yada, yada. I hope you and your wife continue to do well, whatever it is. But I saw that and I thought it was funny. Like, I'm going to print those.
Yep. I love that. Maybe I'm going to steal that from you.
Do it. Do it.
That's fun. That's really fun.
So, we've talked about some of the unique things. Is there anything that, we haven't talked about that you do that's unique, that kind of helps you generate referrals and stay in front of your database? Or?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Before we dive into that, the Outside the Box podcast is all about building repeat and referral business, because smart realtors know that serving your clients is that secret sauce.
At BizBox, we think your marketing should serve your clients too. BizBox branded moving boxes are the ultimate blend of service and promotion. Printed on 2 sides, loaded with essential supplies, and delivered straight to your clients, BizBoxes are lasting impressions that keep you top of mind long after the move is done.
And BizBox can fit any budget. With packages starting at just 5 boxes and free design setup, you can visit bizboxinc.com, click the free setup button, and create memorable marketing in just minutes.
Stand out with BizBox while your competitors get tossed aside. Now, back to the show.
I don't spend a ton of money on marketing, but the money that we do spend, most of it goes into, we call our clients our homies. I hate the word client, so we call them our homies. But most of the money we spend on marketing is spent on our homies. So whether it be like traditional things like, a client appreciation party, we do like the pumpkins, we deliver a pumpkin to everybody's porch the first week in October. And that goes back through my entire database since I first started in real estate. So This past year, I think we delivered 600 and some pumpkins to people's porches.
Whoa.
And that little thing, like a pumpkin means a lot to people, especially when you deliver it in early October. And it's the big changing of the seasons around here. So, I will get texts that say, oh, we got our pumpkin again. We always look forward to this. We just really, really focus on staying top of mind with our past clients. And I found that they tend to send people that are like them to us. And we like working with the people that we've worked with for the most part, or we would have fired them and we wouldn't be following up with them. So it's sent us just like serious clients, right? Like we don't pay for Zillow leads. We don't market on realtor.com. I like those super wholesome leads that get sent to us by our past clients. I also don't think that people or realtors put enough value on Google reviews. Like Google reviews, if you think, I look at reviews on everything that I go to. If I'm looking for a new restaurant, if I'm in a new area and I'm going to be staying at a hotel, if I'm, booking an Airbnb, I read reviews, and we're not any different from that as realtors. We're a business providing a service, and really focusing on asking our past homies, our clients, to make sure to leave a Google review. That's something we started in the last 6 months, and that has grown our business by quite a bit. And again, it's free.
How and when do you ask for those Google reviews?
So we have a whole follow-up system. I will, if it feels natural, depending upon who the client is, in the closing, I will say something about it. And again, it has to feel right. But then we have a client follow-up process, and within that process is asking for the Google reviews. So we usually have 3 different touches. We send out a preferred vendors list, and within that list, 3 weeks after our client closes on their property, we stick a little card in there that just says, hey, if you haven't done a Google review yet, like, it would mean a lot to us. We call, text. Usually we have 6 touches, and if after 6 touches they don't leave a Google review, then they probably are.
If after 6 touches and they don't leave a review, you probably don't want them to.
Yeah, possibly, right?
That's funny. You mentioned, so the Google reviews, I think it's super important to have those. And I focus on those a lot too, because I find, if I'm going to get interviewed for a listing, or if someone wants to get coffee and kind of just chat about their needs, I mean, it's all an interview, but they're interviewing you long before you set that appointment, and part of that's with, there's 2 phases to an interview. They'll check out your Google reviews. They might check out your Facebook page or your website, just kind of see what you're about. Then they call you. Then they do their in-person interview, whether or not they call it that or not. And if you don't have those kind of things for them to do their initial review, you never get the opportunity sometimes for the in-person one. So that's super cool. We haven't talked about those on this show yet, I don't think. And that is a huge part of working by referral.
We just set up, we've taken the Google reviews sort of to the next level now, where we have a buyer packet that we bring to open houses. And within that buyer packet, and I don't know anybody else in our area that's doing this, we have a QR code that links right to our Google reviews. And then with the handwritten note cards, with those buyers having access to our Google reviews, they can kind of get to know us without actually knowing us. So again, kind of like that layered onion approach of just helping to earn people's trust.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so I just clued in at the open houses. Then the QR code takes the prospective buyers to your Google review. So that's perfect. Yeah. Okay.
Get with it.
I'm sorry. So I'm a little slow here. So that's interesting. And then the other thing that makes sense to me on what you said is with 6 touches asking for Google reviews. Well, of course that makes sense because they say whether you're direct mail, like what we do, or staying in front of people, they have to see you over and over and over again in order, to get them to do something or to call to action. Well, this is the same way, even though you've already got them as a client, asking for that review. You have to do that, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. So, I mean, yeah, that completely makes sense as opposed to just once, which I'm assuming a lot of realtors just.
I'm a one and done kind of guy, and it doesn't work as well. But you have to think through too. It might take 6 or 7 times, but they don't realize how important it is to us. Mm-hmm. That is a very important, and so they might read the text or the email and think it'd be nice if you could, and they don't get to it. They're in the middle of moving. I get it, but it's that is super important. And so it takes some follow-up.
Yep. And that's why we started doing that follow-up process. Because I've had people ask me for reviews before, and very unintentionally, I don't do it because I'm driving and I read the text, and then, we don't know what's going on in people's lives. So those 6 touches, they don't happen all within the first, month of closing. It goes out about a year.
Right.
We haven't gotten to that year marker of our follow-up program yet, but that's our plan.
Yeah, and I don't want to keep talking about the reviews, but it is so important and underrated. I mean, even throughout the transaction or when you're interviewing with them in the beginning, dropping subtle hints. I'll sometimes say, hey, it's my goal to provide you such a great service that when I call to ask if you could leave me a Google review, you're going to be pumped to do it, and you're going to do it the first day. That's my goal before we even get into the transaction. Maybe they remember that, maybe they don't, but then, in 3 months, 6 months, whatever the time is when we've closed and I send that text, maybe they remember that and they're like, oh, we're going to leave this day one.
That's very proactive. I like it. I'm learning a lot from you today.
No, sometimes I'll say something. It's like, yeah, I don't actually do that as much as I should, but I have heard that before, and we should do that more. But yeah, I've heard that. If you had to start over today, what would be one of your top priorities for building your business and developing a strong network of clients and repeat business?
Establishing a database.
Okay. What do you mean by database?
Keeping track of my clients and keeping in flow with them, which means, following up with them. I didn't have any sort of organized database with my clients until I had probably been in the industry for about 2 years. So when I went to make my database, I lost people. I know I did. I didn't have their contact information, whatever the situation was. And once I had my database, it was so much easier to create a sustainable, repeatable client follow-up process.
For someone who doesn't have a database, and we can all conceptually, we all have different definitions, maybe what database means. For someone who doesn't have one and is saying, I want a database, that's a great idea. What does that look like to start? What does yours look like, or how would you encourage them to get that going? What are some practical tips?
So, it can be as easy as creating like a Google Doc or a Google Sheets, document where you have your client's name, their email address, their phone number, their address, maybe their birthdays, the number of kids they have, just notes on them, the property they purchased, if they, how many have they purchased with you? So I feel like that information can be added on as your career and your relationships develop. But I just think starting with that very basic information so that you can continue to follow up with those people. I think most brokerages provide some sort of CRM program where you can manage your clients. I know Coldwell Banker Real Estate Group has has one where they will keep in contact with your clients for you if you want. We don't really utilize that on our team. I am a bit of a micromanager and I want it to be personal. I don't want to just send, happy 4th of July email with fireworks. Like, I want it to be, here's the fireworks shows that are happening in our community. And, we usually send that out like July 1st. And then it'll have all of the fireworks shows, the dates, the times, the location that's happening in our community. I like to do that sort of thing rather
like
than
That's so good. And that goes so much farther.
Yeah.
A 4th of July firework graphic with your logo at the bottom. That is one of my biggest pet peeves in our industry. Holiday comes around, Christmas, Thanksgiving, 4th of July. You can guarantee to see 25 posts from realtors with their logo at the bottom of fireworks. I mean, it's just like clockwork.
Yeah,
So,
for sure. Predictable.
One quick follow-up that I didn't think to ask is on the pumpkins. Logistically, how do you deliver 650 pumpkins?
It's a all hands on deck type process. So everybody on my team has to participate in it. We usually take a few days and deliver them. This year, I was super grateful. I now have a child that is a driver. So I solicited a little bit of slave labor. I think I compensated him with Chipotle. So he drove his younger two siblings around while they ran out and put the pumpkin on the porch. So it's not fancy. It's not glamorous. We're usually covered in dirt and our cars are, but it's worth it.
Do you attach like a note or a business card to it or something, I assume?
So we have a little tag with a ribbon that we tie on the stem. We always do like a contest, whether they can paint their pumpkin, carve their pumpkin, and then they can enter it into the contest that we have where we give away a prize. But yeah, it'll say some little jingle on it.
Love it.
Happy Halloween. We'd be scared. I don't know. I don't remember what they all say, but basically letting them know it's from us. We're grateful for the opportunity to work with them and hey, decorate it and have a chance to win a gift card to one of the small businesses downtown.
Love it.
That's good. So what do you think is the key to turning a one-time client into a lifelong referral source?
I think it's nailing customer service through that initial experience. Really going above and beyond. And the reason I started working with BizBox, and I know you guys did not solicit any, of my experience with BizBox, but I do want to talk about it. So my husband and I moved cross country 4 times in 10 years. And it's so stressful. And one of the things that always stressed me out was packing because it's a lot, right? And when I got into real estate, I made a list of the biggest pain points of moving and thought to myself, how can I address those through my service to my clients? So I chose to work with BizBox. After doing some research, I found you guys. And just yesterday, I was sitting in a CMA appointment with a potential client. And she was talking to me about how stressed she was about, moving and what is she going to do with all of this stuff. And I texted my assistant and I said, order Tracy BizBox. And she put in the order, sent it to her, and I said to Tracy, the potential client, you're going to have boxes on your door within the next 5 days. They're going to be delivered right to you. Start packing. Wow. And she was like, really? And it's just, again, I don't know anybody in my area that delivers boxes to their client's doorstep. Everybody has to pack. Even if you have movers, you still have stuff you want to pack. And the fact that we can brand them and they'll have those boxes. I have boxes from moving 20 years ago that are still in my basement unpacked. So, I just think to myself, this is part of the marketing plan too. It's taking care of my clients, going above and beyond. But now every time they go in their basement, even 20 years from now, there's going to be my face and my contact information on the side. Yeah, exactly. So
We didn't even have to pay for
super
that.
genius idea.
That was the easiest. We didn't even ask for that, but thank you.
Yeah, that was a
But I
softball.
tell
Thank
you
you
what
for
I
that.
did like. I don't think we've used this verbiage in our marketing, but pain point. I think we're going to start using that. So
Yeah, it is a huge pain point, and nailing down, putting yourself in your client's shoes on the pain points of moving. I was given the advice when I first got in the business that as a realtor, take it or not, but as a realtor, we should move every 5 to 7 years so we have a real understanding of what our clients are going through every day. Because it's easy for us to forget because we're not the ones moving and we deal with this so much. But it is stressful, and people don't like moving, and identifying those pain points is really important.
Yeah, I think moving is probably in the top 3 most stressful life experiences you can have. And I promised myself, especially during that cycle of moving and remembering how stressful it was, I promised myself that I would never lose sight of, one, what a stressful, overwhelming process it can be physically and emotionally, but also we're helping people spend hundreds of thousands of dollars and obtain or sell their biggest personal asset for majority of the population. And that is a huge undertaking. And every time, like, I really think of the scope of that, it's like, wow, they're trusting me to do this for them. And that's an honor. And it sounds cheesy, but I remind myself of that every single day, because there are a lot of really great realtors in our area that my clients could choose, but they chose to work with us. And I'll never lose sight of how important that is and what an honor it is to be able to help people with that.
I'm going to ask you this because it feels like you have, but maybe this is just who you are. Have you read the book Unreasonable Hospitality?
Mm-mm.
Have you heard of it? You know what I'm talking about at all? You can say no.
I'm surprised I don't. I don't know that one, but...
Well, it sounds like your business embodies the whole premise of the book, and that the idea behind the book is it's a restaurant owner who... the whole premise of the book is how can we go above and beyond and provide a level of hospitality that's unreasonable, where people look at the service we provide and say, why are they doing that? That's above and beyond what I'd expect. And, whether it's your biz boxes or other touch points you have, we're only kind of getting a bird's eye view of your business. Look, you really embody that. And if you haven't read it, you should read it. It's a fantastic read, and maybe the author can take some notes from you.
Well, I have an Audible credit email that just came through today, so I know what book I'm buying.
Yep. I just listened to it a couple months ago, and it's changed the way I thought about my business. And so you would love it.
plus, there's actually a chapter for real estate.
There is a chapter where he goes into depth on real estate agents and how he's spoken to lots of real estate teams and brokerages, and talks about personalized gifts instead of, a bottle of wine. It talks about handwritten notes instead of generic postcards, things like that. And you'd really like it. Yeah.
Okay.
But,
well, like I said, I know what I'm spending my Audible credit.
Yeah.
Well, we love stories here. I mean, do you have a story about your biggest or best referral or any referrals that you've had or anything that surprised you or just you like to repeat?
My biggest listing I ever had was a referral. So it was a $1.4 million listing in our area, and this was a couple years ago. So that's a very high dollar property in my area. Our average sales price is around $360 right now. And on top of that, it is one of the most prominent homes in that area. It's on the historical registry. When I was given the address from my referral source, he started describing it. And I literally pictured in my head myself riding my bicycle by that house as a kid and being like, oh my gosh, I wonder who lives in that house. So it was actually a business coach that I hired, who is a pretty prominent business owner in my community. And he was the one that referred those sellers to me. And
Nice.
again, like such an honor to work with a historical estate. I was a history teacher, so I'm a historian by degree. So it was like the best of both worlds coming together to have the privilege and honor of selling that property.
That's nice.
So that was really cool. And it was really neat too. Just a little like feel good, pat on the back to myself that this promised business owner that was coaching me trusted me with these very, high end, I'll say, clients that he had for me to help them. So
That business
that
coach was
cool.
worth every penny you paid him.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
For the all the things you learned and the referral.
Yep, for
That's
sure.
awesome.
And he knows that. He's gotten lots of handwritten note cards and other things as well. So yeah.
That's good.
It's funny. Well, we like to end our time on Outside the Box with some rapid fire questions that we'll shoot you with, kind of some either or, this or that's. Let me know when you're ready and we're going to hit you with them.
I'm ready.
Zillow, realtor.com, or homes.com. What do you recommend a client use when they're looking for homes?
I think realtor.com updates listings status the quickest. So I'd say realtor.com. I don't like any of them though.
That is the right answer, but unfortunately we're using one of them. Book or audiobook?
Audiobook. I spend way too much time in the car.
Okay. Most impactful audiobook you've read, listened to?
So recently, it would be Beyond the Hammer by Brian Gottlieb. He is a local business owner in my area who grew a tiny little bath remodeling business into, it's an insanely large business right now that's gone national. And he just writes about basically being a good leader in business to your employees, your contractors.
Love it. Beyond the Hammer, that's what you said?
Beyond the Hammer. Yeah.
Perfect.
Can I give one more?
Yeah, please do.
Okay, this is another book I just finished. It's called The Gap and the Gain. I can't even remember who it's by, but it's by a pretty big author in the, self-help, self-development scene. And I think this will resonate with a lot of top producing realtors. And it's all about living in the gap. So we have a tendency as high achievers to never really appreciate what we've accomplished or celebrate what we accomplished. We always live in that gap between our goals, right? We're not big enough. We're not doing enough. And it's just basically like a psychology experiment about training your brain to not live in the gap, to celebrate your accomplishments. I'm doing a really bad job of describing it, but it's
this is
a
great.
phenomenal book for anybody that is driven and a high achiever.
And what was the title one more time?
The Gap and the Gain.
The Gap and the Gain. Man, maybe I should read that book. Or listen to it. Because I did get an Audible credit as well.
Oh, perfect. There you go.
There we go. Office or home office?
Office, for sure. I'd be 500 pounds. I'm in my pantry every 30 seconds thinking I need a snack when I work from home.
That's funny. Do you have a business mentor or coach or influencer that you listen to?
Rachel Hollis. Rachel Hollis podcast. She's sort of geared towards entrepreneurs, specifically female entrepreneurs. I'm a fangirl of her. I've read all of her books, listened to her podcast religiously.
Love it.
Good.
Final question. If a listener wanted to refer a client to you, what local areas do you serve and what's the best way to get a hold of you?
So we serve most of Northeast Wisconsin. Not a lot of people nationally know about the Wisconsin area, but north of Milwaukee to south of the Door County area, it's about a 150-mile radius. And then to get a hold of me, afurman@coldwellhomes.com, or social media is probably the easiest place to find us. Amanda Furman Collective with Coldwell Banker Real Estate Group.
Perfect. Awesome. Amanda, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate
great.
it. This has been awesome.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you guys both so much for the opportunity, and also for creating a business that has helped me elevate my business.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.